This is a string. Ball it up and we can't quite tell what it is. Begin to pull it apart and we can see that it's a string, but we don't know quite how long it is or how much it can stretch. Pull it till it's taut and we get this beautiful straight line from one point to another and we can feel some stretch. Pull it too hard though and it breaks. This is a musical phrase. Don't link the notes together well and we get a disjointed, nonsensical mess of sound. Link the notes together but without a sense of direction or intention, and we make a phrase, but a monotone and very boring phrase. Link the notes, incorporate, stretch, push, pull, and intention, and we make music. Pull too much though, and the phrase breaks, and we're back almost to where we started, disjointed and nonsensical. Every note we play has purpose and connection to some other note, some other motif, or some larger idea. This is true of the simplest music all the way to the most complex. Every note is a fiber of that string that we talked about. When we link individual fibers together, we create an idea. How meaningful that idea is could be like how fancy our string is. A very basic understanding might be like saying our music is made out of twine. Scratchy, it's not easy to bend, it doesn't look very pretty, but it gets the job done. But a concert pianist might construct their music out of fine silk, woven with elastic for some extra stretch and velvet for warmth. It would feel luxurious to our fingers and the music would sound luxurious to our ears. In order to create that beautiful silken line in our own music, in our own playing, we must first understand the basic components of the phrase that we happen to be working on and how those components relate to one another and build upon one another, how they link together and create that structure. So we're looking at actually Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto, a moment from the first movement, about 2.5 minutes in. It's one of the, I think, most beautiful musical moments in all of the piano repertoire. Let me just play the melody for you first, and then we're going to take a look at where do phrases begin and end, because that's really the most important thing, and our slurs that are given to us on this page don't exactly tell us all of that information. So here's the melody from the top of the page. I'm just playing it very metronomically. That's the end of the second line. So let's talk about that much. It's very obvious that the first phrase begins right here at the beginning of the page. First measure, first note. But where does that phrase actually end? That's really important to know because how the rest of the phrase is structured and how we can further unravel our thread, further stretch, is all dependent on where the true end of the phrase is. So let's play it again. Does it actually end here? This is the end of the first slur. Definitely not. I think we can all agree on that, right? The slur does actually not show the end of the first phrase. So where does it actually end? Here? Nope. Nope. Oh, but yes, beginning of the second line. So we can actually say there's one overarching, very large phrase that goes from the first note of this page to across the entire first line and to the first note of the second line. So across 4 full measures. Yes? Let's look for the next phrase. We're starting on second line. That could be potentially a phrase. So now we have a starting and an ending. Another 2 points of start and end. And now we have another phrase. And this could be, we could either think about it as coming from that G, or even starting on the A, for example, starting there and going across, same spot, right? We could also, depending on how you want to interpret this, the overarching phrase could start all the way back from this A and go across to the next line. And we keep pushing. And that would be a very lovely interpretation as well. So identifying these starting and ending points, really important, because within those points, we're going to be able to build stretch and push and pull and rubato. We're going to be able to take that thread, now that we know where the beginning and the end of the thread are, we're going to be able to take that thread and manipulate it, right? Next up, can we identify where are the high points of each phrase, if they have any? Let's put those in blue. Okay, go back to the first phrase, still thinking about just the melody. I think we could all agree that this is a high point, and then tumbling down. Yes? So we have one major high point, right? And we'll talk about how that can maybe affect our stretch and push and pull in a second. There are maybe a couple other places we want to identify where we have this movement later on by second. And this here, Rachmaninoff has shown us slurs that are in a couple different places, right? And smaller slurs. Those can also be signs that these need a little extra inflection. So if we think about these high points as also being places where we lean into it emotionally, musically, with time, right? We can lean in on the high note of the phrase that soars, but we can also lean in on these other notes. And then later, let's continue on to the second phrase. Now that we've established a little bit of that motion, quarter note lean followed by a release. Quarter note lean followed by a release. That happens again here and here, right? Okay, interesting. So now things that we're seeing in the first phrase are starting to make sense for all the other phrases. Next bit. We have a very similar rhythm to what we had in bar 2 of this page. And so once again, we can lean, or we can feel extra tension on this held note before the resolution. Even though the resolution here continues up and doesn't come tumbling down, right? Okay, so we've identified beginnings and ends of the larger phrases, things that aren't necessarily given to us in notation on the page. And then we've gone through and also identified where are points where there's more present just by how it sounds. Just by how it sounds and a little bit of the extra markings that Rachmaninoff has given us with the little tenuto marks and little extra slurs, right? So now that we understand the starting and the ending of the phrase and the high points of the phrase, right? We understand what our thread looks like, where it begins and where it ends, and we understand kind of how far we can pull it before we begin to stretch, right? What goes on in the middle of it? Now we can start to unravel and let's say find out, well, when we reach and we pull our string tautly all the way at the ends, how much can we stretch? How much can we give? Where can we take this to make extra musical magic, right? So starting at the beginning again, just with the melody. I think, especially if you know this piece and you know a lot of interpretations, from the beginning, we push forward to create momentum. That's like beginning with our string more condensed, right? Not pulled taut. And then we start to stretch, and we stretch beyond tempo. So now the string is under tension, right? We're thinking about it being pulled and holding. It's almost like holding our breath a little bit. Pushing forward, holding our breath, and then tumbling down, letting the thread relax. Stretch, little stretch, and then back, right? So all of those things, our thread is tying all of this together, and it's helping keep all of it related, right? Second phrase, little movements, little stretches. And then a push and a bigger stretch. And then a release. Yes? Let's add all of this together and hear what that sounds like. It's at this point in the musical journey that we also become susceptible to breaking our line or pulling it too far. We've learned the components, we've learned how to unravel them and how to stretch them. But then the risk becomes if we pull and pull and pull, we're going to break our line. We're going to disrupt our music. One of my teachers, Robert Hamilton, he was a winner of the Busoni competition. He would tell me that to prevent this, we can do what he called spring cleaning. So even after we play at a concert level, and even after we've performed pieces, bring things back to their rudimentary components, the basic notes and rhythms, their true rhythms, the true dynamics, the true markings in the score. Relearn how to play each phrase without any stretch, pull, without any rubato, yet still make them all sing and make them all musical. What does your thread of phrase look like right now? What components do you need to work on? What material is your thread made of? And how much stretch can your playing withstand? Let us know in the comments below. And also tell us what rep that you're currently working on. Speaking of creating line and direction in music, I have the perfect video about legato playing right over here for you to check out. You've been watching Pianist Academy, where we practice smarter, not harder. I'm Szczepanek, and I'll see you in the next video.